our regular board meeting. Jessica, will you please take attendance of our student representatives?
Santi? I was like,
That voice came from me.
Carla? AJ?
Okay, thank you and welcome. Would everyone please rise and join me in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us this evening. As I look out, our elected officials, I see our wonderful friend Sherry Klump from the Park District is here. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Anybody that is physically present at the meeting that wishes to address the board, please complete a comment card and provide it to Ms. Del Real on my left here. Anyone that is virtually attending the meeting wishing to address the board must complete the public comment form listed on the agenda prior to starting the public comment section of the meeting, and written public comments may be submitted via email. We're starting off our meeting this month with some awards and recognitions, starting with the 2024 Donna Ray Steckling Memorial Educators Grant. Dr. Connolly.
Good evening, and thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We are very fortunate to have the support of just a true member of the District 21 family, the Steckling family, to support our new or newer educators as they come into the district with grant opportunities. And so I'm going to turn it over to Cass Young, who will take the presentation from here.
Thank you. We are here today to recognize the Steckling family, like Dr. Conley said. And I'd like the Stecklings to stand up if they might. I see some of them on this side over here. Thank you for coming. I just wanted to give a brief description of the grant. It's a Donna Ray Steckling is their mother and grandmother. She had a 25-year career here at District 21. She was a library assistant at London and a secretary at the curriculum department in the Ad Center. And she passed away in 2020, and the family wanted to establish this grant to foster learning, to honor her. It's given to teachers in their first 3 years, and requests are up to $1,000 a year. And the total amount awarded is $3,000 per year. And we have some of the grantees here. So if they can stand, Magdala, is she here today? You want to stand? Thank you. Lupita Hernandez. Rachel Schless. Lauren Reynolds. I know Hannah did not make it today. Is she here? No. Delaney Libet. Madison could not make it. Yulia Latista. And Natalia from Poe. And you can see there which school they're from, how much money they were granted, and some of the reasons that the money is supporting their classrooms. And there's some pictures here. So Rachel, do you want to come up and read your comment? Yeah, come here. This is your quote.
Yes.
And some of your pictures.
Yes. So I wrote that this grant has allowed me to provide my students with a lot of sensory, academic, and functional tools that have allowed them to best access the school environment. This has included cause and effect toys, cooking supplies, fidgets, and various other items. But most notably, I was able to purchase a variety of fillers for our classroom sensory table, such as beads, water toys, and gems. This has been vital to my students' success. It gives them a highly engaging and novel sensory outlet to access during break times, increasing their overall regulation. It also allows for exposure to different textures, smells, visual input, and sounds, and it promotes social interaction and teamwork authentically, which is really invaluable to the students in the Education and Life Skills program. I'm really grateful for all that this grant has allowed me to do for my students.
So here's a few more pictures from Rachel's class. And this is from Magdala's class. And her quote was, "To increase cultural items in the classroom." Here's some more pictures from Magdala's class at Hawthorne. You can see some of the cultural items that the children are playing with. Another picture. This is from Delaney. Is she here? Do you want to come up and read yours?
Well, thank you so much, Declan family. So my students were able to receive some indoor recess activities, games, and toys for my classroom, and they are so excited to create, design, and play. And I was also able to get some math games to help support student learning. So, thank you.
Yulia? Do you want to come up, Yulia?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much to the Steckling family. I appreciate a lot. This is a gift, I think, and it's a great achievement for Russian bilingual program. We received Russian books, and we definitely will support our students and help them achieve their goals. Thank you very much.
And Natalia?
Hi, everyone. I want to say thank you very much for Steckling family. We work with Yulia together. We both have Russian bilingual classes, and we're very thankful and grateful for the opportunity to get Russian books for us. We are short on them, and our kids enjoy reading them. We share the books between our two classes, and we are very, very seriously from both our hearts, we're thankful that we got this opportunity to buy these books. Thank you.
Lauren Reynolds?
Thank you so much to the Steckling family. This has actually been my third year that they've provided my students with something. So over the past 3 years, I've gotten over $1,000 from them, which has really just enhanced my students' musicality. And it's incredible what putting an instrument that into some kids' hands that would never have had the opportunity or the motive, what that brings out in even some of our shyest students. So it's been really great to be able to give them that gift that they're able to bring home and enjoy for the rest of their lives.
So I'd like to invite the Steckling family up here if they want to say a few words. And then we'll take a picture out by the step and repeat of all the teachers, the grantees, and the grantors.
Okay. Hi again. Last year we didn't speak because we were caught off guard, but this year we're ready. So I'd like to thank the school board for putting us on the agenda to recognize the Donna Ray Steckling Memorial Educators Grant and the impact that it's had on the students in District 21. I also would like to thank Cass and her team. First of all, back in 2021, the team helped us establish the grant and now has been the conduit to communicate the grant, the application process, and also to disperse the funds to the grant recipients. From my family and on behalf of my family, I'm speaking here, we have a heartfelt thank you to the educators for everything that they do every day with their students to inspire them. And I can't look at my sister because for some reason she's crying, but anyway, it's a happy day. What you guys do in your classroom every day to inspire these students will affect them now. How many people remember who their teacher was in elementary and junior high? I mean, you guys are famous, right? So keep doing what you're doing. We fully support you. And please, a hand for the students, or the educators.
Thank you. I'll meet you out there in 5-10 minutes. We've got a little bit more of a presentation to give. So the next award is for ISBE Awards of Excellence, and this is a state of Illinois organization that recognizes outstanding educators, administrators, and staff for their dedication, innovation, and impact in Illinois schools. And we have several people who have earned this award, and I'm just going to read their names if you want to stand up. The award of special recognition to Amy McCall. She is a London classroom teacher. If you'd like to stand, Amy. Award of Meritorious Service for CCSD Assistive Technology and Augmentative and Alternative Communication, Amanda Ha and Anthony Mead. I'm not sure if they're here. Award of Excellence, Emily Bocheknik. I know she couldn't make it. She's got 3 young kids. She couldn't make it. Award of Special Recognition, Lucy Donnan, Director of Special Education. Award of Special Recognition for Mallory Rossi. She is a Riley physical therapist. And award of special recognition to Taylor Park. She is Twain resource teacher. And I'd be happy to take your picture out there as well. Thank you and congratulations to everybody.
So just a few more words on the Those Who Excel award program. So this is, as Cass noted, this is a series of awards that are statewide that come through the Illinois State Board of Education. And the press release announcing the winners literally just came out on Tuesday. So for those of you, it wasn't planned for, we didn't know who was going to be recognized until the press release came out. So I really appreciate you changing your plans on a Thursday night, 48 hours after the announcement came out, and joining us. And they are invited to a banquet that will be taking place down in Bloomington Normal later in the spring. Is it April, March, something? Oh, it's May, okay. But a very nice banquet that has all of Those Who Excel award winners from across the state. So there's several hundred people down there. Occasionally the governor shows up, so hopefully he's able to make it to your banquet. And it's just a really nice event. So very proud of all of our Those Who Excel award winners. And again, to the Steckling family, thank you so much for this memorial scholarship program and just the influence that you are allowing our new staff to make with your support is just extremely, we're just very grateful. And I just want to note that Andy, who is one of your own, is not here. Otherwise, he'd be taking the pictures tonight. So, give him some guff about that. Oh, it's his birthday today. I work on my birthday. I mean, but anyway, but thank you very much, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we have now reached the board communication section of the agenda. The first item is the NSSEO update. The NSSEO meeting was originally planned for the first week of the month, and then we had the potential of an ice storm. So it was delayed a week. It was delayed to the day of the snowstorm. Yeah, it made driving not fun home. So we had a very abbreviated meeting. We had no students come. We actually only had 2 people in our audience, and that audience is normally pretty full. So the main thing that we talked about was how we're going on the strategic plan. It's still moving along, and hopefully we'll have a bigger update next month, because I know that we've got several meetings planned coming up. So next I will go into EdRed. Bill.
Thank you, Debbie. There we go. Thank you, Debbie. Edred's legislative dinner was held late last month. It was very well done. The speaker, Noel Ellerson-Ing of the American Association of School Administrators, gave a very informative and very fast-paced presentation as to what to expect out of DC going forward. For those of you who weren't able to attend, or if you'd like to review it, given the fast pace, Mike made a point of sending us a copy of the slides. Edred's next member meeting will be held here on Friday, March 7th. There will be an option to attend virtually if needed, and State Representative Fred Crespo will be giving a legislative update. Finally, Edred will be having advocacy days in Springfield on April 8th and 9th. Watch your email for registration if interested. And that's it for Edred.
Jessica, do you have any updates for Edred? Okay, thank you. And we'll continue with Bill on IASB.
Okay, this is even shorter. Proposals for presentation at the 2025 Joint Annual Conference are due actually March 1st. So if we're interested, we need to move on that. And then the North Cook Spring Division Dinner will be held on Tuesday, March 4th. The speaker will be Eric Santos, who will be discussing AI in schools. I believe most of us have already registered. If you haven't and you're interested, as always, contact Leticia. And that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Next is North Cook ISC. Arlen,
We have nothing new for you.
nice and quick. Do we have anything for the Wheeling Township 708 Board?
We have nothing new on Wheeling Township.
Okay, thank you. Do we, for our government agencies, we'll start again with Bill. Do you have any additional updates?
Nothing important other than I think about 5 of us attended the Wheeling Chamber of Commerce legislative breakfast this week. It's always great to have the opportunity to meet with our legislators and show off this lovely building.
Thank you. Arlen, did you have
I would
any
just add the Edred dinner was real meaningful, an excellent outing, and then the chamber breakfast was well done, well done. I appreciate the opportunity to be there. Nothing new on the municipality side.
Okay, thank you. Stacy?
Well, I got to come early and be the greeter for the Chamber of Commerce, because Cass and I are associate directors on the board, so that was lovely. Lots of comments about people who had not been in our building before. Obviously, a huge thank you to all the legislators that joined us. We were at a Chamber of Commerce right before we came here, Cass and I. And the back to school 5K that is now, the route has now been approved by the Park District. It happened yesterday, so they were able to announce. So it's a 5K back to school with District 21, the Chamber of Commerce, the Wheeling Park District, and the Police Unity Foundation on August the 9th, with more details to come.
Awesome, thank you. Sounds like fun. Okay, Phil, do you have any updates?
Yeah, I attended one of the virtual webinars that the ISBE did. Did not believe it was one of their finest. I'm not going to indicate anything further. I just didn't think it was up to the level of what they've done in the past. Sorry I missed the Edred meeting. Darn, having to work and having my own board of directors to report to, I had to miss that. But hopefully the next event I'll be able to attend. That's it.
Thank you. Jessica?
Just real quick, I attended London's Culture Night a couple weeks ago. I know some of the other middle schools do an international or culture night. This was just an incredible evening. They had a troupe of dancers from Ukraine that did just a really, really incredible dance. Principal Netzel led us in the Greek celebration dance that, I swear to God, if you were at any Jewish celebration, you would call it the Hora. But it was sort of that moment where you realize, cultures have so much more in common than, and huge shout out to Organic Life for preparing foods, tasting portions from around the world. We ate very well that night. Excuse me. And then last night, I attended the strategic plan parent Zoom with several of our other parents in the district. And I thanked them in person for their frankness and their candor in not only the positive things they had to say about the district, but the things that they are looking forward to discussing as we move forward with the strategic plan. So once again, yay, District 21, but we have lots of stuff to work on.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, myself, I was at the legislative dinner. I was very happy with the chamber event here. Discovered a new coffee place in town, so I'm very happy to shop local. That was quite good. And I am looking forward to tomorrow night Tarkington is having their bingo night, which I always love to go to, so I will be there. So all you Tarkington parents, I'll see you there. So that is it for this. And last item under board communication is our student representatives.
Yeah, so this month, we asked our student representatives to have some kind of focus conversations with some of their peers. And so each member had some questions that they talked with their student peers with. And without setting it up any more than that, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to our representatives and just tell us about the questions you asked and then the feedback that you got from your I want to keep calling them colleagues, but peers. Student colleagues. There we go. So who'd like to go first? Got to do that. Santi, thanks for volunteering.
You're welcome. So the question I asked is there someone or something in school that helps you be successful or feel happy while learning? And some of my peers said that music has been helping them focus in class more and has helped them feel in control of their emotions, and now teachers are starting to use more free time while kids are working to let them listen to music. Another thing is stress toys. Some students use stress relief toys during class when the work is overwhelming or like they're sitting in class and they need something to do to pay attention. And also the library helps a lot. I myself have been to the library sometimes where it's nice and quiet and I get a lot of work done in there. And another thing is teachers are now more willing to let students come in during lunch to freely work on any schoolwork. And I just want to thank teachers for being understanding, flexible, and so supportive of their students.
So my question was, can you think of anything that could make learning easier or help students feel more comfortable when they're having a hard time? So from the forum that we got, it said that collaboration and working with other partners has helped others because they could communicate with others and get others' suggestions, so that could help them as well. And classes and activities that help them do best in school are engaging and challenging subjects like math and language arts, and interactive and fun learning methods like games, group works, and like mystery puzzles and investigations that have to relate with doing all like with the unit or subject they're doing. And exploratories like art, cooking, and PE are less stressful for them and it engages more people to talk and also have more fun. And also agreeing with Santi, my social science teachers and language arts teachers give us more time to do work during lunch, and that's been very helpful. And some things that I'm suggesting is that like some people are really like getting behind with their work or they're having like trouble with their grades, and maybe there should be like a study club after school where like some peers who already know about that subject or like skill could help other kids who are struggling so that they can improve as well. And maybe like sixth graders, if they're struggling with their work, maybe we could have some eighth graders sign up to help them after school so that they could do well. And maybe like they could even earn certificates, or maybe like there could be perks, like giving them snacks and water to help them focus throughout the time if we ever make a study club. And I think that will be beneficial a lot if that happens.
So my first question was, what do you think would help students if they have trouble with schoolwork or other problems? One of the big things was teacher support with meaning like clear explanations, personalized learning approaches, and consistent availability of trusted adults for support. The second major thing for that was improved organization tools, encouragement of using planners or digital tools to help students stay on top of assignments and deadlines. My second question was, if a student is having a tough time, what can teachers, classmates, or the school do to help them feel better or do better? One of them was less pressure, reduce the academic and social pressure on students who are struggling, allowing them to feel safe and supported in a way that doesn't add to their stress. The second thing was encouragement and positive reinforcement. Offering words of encouragement, positive feedback, and reassurance can help students feel more confident and motivated.
All right, thanks, everybody. Any questions from the board?
Not a question, but Santi, the last time I saw him was at a swim meet. I was sitting in the stands with my wife, and a young man walks in front of me, and I was kind of daydreaming because our grandson is in that competition and wasn't up yet, so I was kind of out of it. Mr. Gould, how are you? And so we chatted a little bit, and I said, well, that's my grandson. Let me walk you over to him. And my grandson had just lost a race, was not in the best spirits. But Santi went back to him later, and about 20 minutes, half hour later, I saw the two of them walking with their arms around each other back to the pool for the next heat. So quite a young man between music and swimming and academics. I'm real proud of what you're doing for our town, our community, and our school district. And you certainly present a great image out there at the pool. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
What event do you swim?
I like swimming the 500, which is a long event, and then backstroke.
Okay. 500 freestyle?
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, any other stroke would probably kill you. 500. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So-
When I swam in high school, we only did a 400. So this is a 500, and he's not in high school.
Yeah. No,
It's amazing.
awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. It was a great report this month. Really appreciate it. And hopefully you don't have too much homework to do tonight, but go do it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Now, Santi, make sure that your parents watch this last very tiny section so they know what a good guy you are. If they're not watching it now, make sure they rewind it. Okay. So the next section on the agenda is the staff communication. We have 3 items. First, it's a school safety update.
Yeah, so as Debbie said, we've got a number of staff reports this evening, but we wanted to start off and welcome our Director of School Safety, Danny Malik, to come up and give his school safety updates. So Danny, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board. Thank you for having me tonight. Danny Malik, Director of Safety and Security. Tonight, I'll just be providing a brief presentation, an update on our lay of the land for all things safety and security here at District 21. Whenever we're talking safety, whenever we're talking security, just want to always reinforce our top priorities, ensuring a safe, secure learning environment for everybody, our students and staff. That's not only when we're doing training exercises or drills, that's throughout any operation throughout our school district, our structured time, unstructured time. Our top priority is always going to be safety. That's something we always want to reinforce to our community. We've completed several security improvements throughout the district. We also have a few that are in progress. So basically this presentation will be just an overview of what we've completed so far and then what we have in motion as well. First thing we'll start with is our police Knox boxes, which have been installed in every building, on every building, 2 per building. This was done over the summer of 24. So if you're not familiar with what a Knox box is, it's basically a safe, secure key storage. Typically, this is required for code for fire departments. Basically, if something was to happen inside a building, it would give them access in that building. If they didn't have a key, it would allow them to go inside and address whatever issue they're dealing with. This is not a code, however, for law enforcement, but it's equally important for them to have access to the building as well. Now, all the police departments that serve our district do have fob access, so those patrol officers that patrol our our communities that serve District 21, if they got a call for service at one of our buildings, they would have fob access. But however, we do not just want to rely on those key fobs because depending on the event, that system may go down. So we want to ensure that we have a layer in there for them to have access, not only to the exterior of the building, but as well as the interior of the building. In the event that they had to respond for an incident or some sort of crisis or emergency, they might not be able to encounter a staff member right away that has a key for our interior of our building. So this would ensure that there is never a situation where they do not have access to any parts of our building. Additionally, if this is after hours and they needed to go in because an alarm went off and they need to clear the building, because that's proper protocols for law enforcement, they would have the ability to do that as well. Again, this has been installed at every building. We have 2 per building, and they're indicated with blue reflective tape on the boxes itself, which separates them from the fire Knox boxes. And we collaborated with our police departments to let them get the opportunity to pick where those boxes go. One's sort of in a centralized location and one's in a more tactical location for them to approach if they needed that tactical advantage. Our standard response protocol has been in place. It's been in place before I started here in this role. However, we're always looking to continue to improve these protocols. Over the summer of '24, our administrative team, we did a sort of a refresher training on our SRP. However, we also had new staff, new administrators as well. So some of them, it was their first time being exposed to the standard response protocol. We wanted to make sure everybody had that refresher and that new training if they were new. We also created a SRP training video. And basically during that training, our staff was advised, our building leaders were advised that they need to provide this training video to their staff so that everybody within the buildings of District 21, teachers, staff members, our custodians, that everybody has this standard response protocol training. In the event we had to initiate one of our protocols, everybody knows their role, their responsibility. This just ensures consistent understanding of our emergency protocols. We don't just want our administrators trained on this. Again, this is for our students. This is for our other staff members throughout the building, our support personnel, as well as our community members. We push out communication to our families as well on what the SRP is and what each protocol means. Our emergency flip charts and signage. As you can see in this image here, we call this our safety center in our classrooms and our gathering spaces. Basically, it's a dedicated location in each of one of our rooms that have this critical information and safety resources that shouldn't be removed from the wall. It's just we're not covering that up with anything else. This is just where we can find all of our emergency information. Something on there is our emergency evacuation maps. These maps indicate your primary and your secondary evacuation routes as well as shelter locations. It also has like the address of the building, the room number you're in. Sometimes if somebody had to call 911, they might draw blanks in a time of crisis. They could revert back to this and get that information that a dispatcher is likely going to ask you. Another thing is the SRP signage. It just reinforces our standard response protocol and some of the procedures and actions that you take if we were ever to initiate one of those protocols. And a new thing we implemented are these emergency flip charts. We call them our grab and go flip charts. They're located in every classroom and every gathering space of every building, every school building in our district. Basically what this is, it reinforces our standard response protocol procedures, but also has some additional steps and resources if our staff need to reference that. We call them our grab and goes because in the event of one of our protocols gets activated, that staff member should grab that flip chart and evacuate or shelter with that flip chart so they could reference it. It also has red and green cards. If we're outside of our buildings, they can account or say, I'm missing somebody or I have everybody. It's just a quick, easy visual identification, all the resources located in one area. This improves reaction time during incidents, and it ensures that our staff, with the training, with the proper resources, that they are confident and our students are confident in understanding what our standard response protocol is, which again is an all hazards approach to any situation that arises. We can initiate one of these protocols and our staff, our students will know how to respond. Other training we did over the summer of '24 with our administrative team and members of the cabinet was the ICS 100 certification. This is a training course. This is something that was, decades ago was brought on by the fire service. This is something that they get trained on. Law enforcement is now trained on this, and now school districts are required to be trained on ICS, administrators specifically. What this allows is for collaboration during the event of a crisis or some sort of mass event. What's going to typically happen in one of these events is we need to have a sort of unified front with our fire and police. And this is the way that they function. And incident command just basically assigns roles and responsibilities to everybody on the incident command team. So it's just a more efficient process of dealing with a crisis. And if we're doing a unified sort of front with our police and our fire, we want to ensure that we know their procedures and we're sort of speaking the same language in that sense. And then this aligns with response with national emergency best practices. These are recommended practices, recommended certifications that our district administrators and other key members of our district should have. So we all received this training. After we got the training, we took a certification test. So everybody's been, all our administrators have been certified ICS 100. And just updating our emergency drill procedures. Sometimes with these with drills, just from my experience being an SRO and working with multiple schools, they can be treated as check boxes, right? Per the School Safety Drill Act, we are required as a school district, as a school to conduct X amount of drills. We don't want to, although we want to make sure we're staying compliant with that, we don't want to treat these drills just like check boxes. We do these drills for a purpose, is to learn where we may have gaps or where we may need to improve, also what we're doing well. So one of the things we did as a team was ensure that we have standardized procedures on how we conduct these drills. We want them consistent across the board, specifically for our lockdowns, evacuations, and our shelter in places. That way, when we're going out and observing these drills, when our principals are conducting these drills, they are conducting them in that standardized fashion, and that we are, part of the training that we provided was what our administrators should look for during these drills, and then after the drills, conduct a feedback form, so then we can go back, analyze that information. And here at District 21, we run a safety week in the fall and in the spring. Basically, just kind of like a heightened focus on safety, and allows us to ensure that all our buildings conduct the required drills per the School Safety Drill Act. So during that time, after the safety week is conducted, we do a safety week debrief, and part of that is analyzing the data from our drills. And just having that consistent way that they're conducted ensures that we're looking at the data in a uniform fashion across our district. It allows us to address those potential needs, those gaps, also what we're doing well. Again, this is one of those things that's going to strengthen preparedness for real life. If we treat it as a checkbox, if a real situation was to happen, we are likely not going to perform it the way that we're supposed to. If we conduct these drills based on best practices in the event of a real situation, we're going to be better prepared. It's going to ensure that our students, our staff, continue to build their confidence in our safety protocols. CareHawk system is something that's been implemented. This is a project taken on by the information services team, and I was fortunate enough to be brought in on these conversations when this was being implemented. This system has heavy sort of a safety features in it, so I was very thankful that I was brought in to collaborate on that side of things with the CareHawk system. What essentially is an integrated safety alert and intercom system. It provides audio and visual cues. So the displays that are located in classrooms, in the hallways, in the big spaces like our NPRs, our libraries, any space in the building, they have these displays that primarily function as clocks. However, if we were to activate one of our protocols, no matter which one it is, it would display it visually on the display right there, and then it would also send out the message over the PA system, which is typical. However, we want to ensure that in those spaces where maybe it's loud, like a hallway, a gymnasium, a lunchroom, not everybody might hear a message that's going on the PA, or some students, because they just hear messages all day, they might just disregard it. However, if you see this going off, we also have students in specialized programs that might not be able to hear an alert go off. So having this just gives us that second layer of not only the message going out, but a visual cue as well. It also has a lot of cool features, supports multi-building coordination. So it's essentially, if we needed to put another one of our buildings in a protocol because something's happening outside the building, we need to put them in a hold. We could do that kind of remotely from the district level. We can also do that from our Crisis Go app, which is an emergency communication app tool that the district uses. And that also is integrated with this. So we activate one of our protocols via Crisis Go, it would activate CareHawk. So just want to thank the information services team because they brought me in on this project, and it's been a great, and we're looking forward to expanding to the rest of our schools this summer. That's the plan. So, thank you. Our SRO programs continue to improve. We have 3 SROs. One is stationed at each middle school. Basically, that's where they're assigned. That's where their office is. That's where they spend majority of their day, their week. However, they're also assigned to the schools that feed into those middle schools. So they have made efforts to increase the walkthroughs, the visits at the elementary schools to continue to build relationships with staff members there and students there, and just address any needs that they may need, or just like I said, just building those relationships. What's cool about that is as these kids progress and get older and move into the middle school, that's a familiar another familiar face, another trusted adult. So we just want to continue to build those relationships. They're out there doing targeted lessons, mainly right now on internet safety, digital citizenship. As we know, this is an increasing issue. It's something that I don't see stopping anytime soon, right? As kids get devices and apps and social media at a younger and younger age, we want to make sure that they have the information to understand what potential dangers are out there, what they shouldn't be doing online, but also what they need to report if they see. So our SROs have been also working with the information services team, and Elizabeth Lynch was part of that team, who's been really outstanding at working with the SROs to create these presentations. And I was fortunate enough to be brought in on that as well, to get my aspect on that and the SRO's expertise. So they've been out there doing that. And it's after speaking with the SROs, they advised that they've seen a reduction in cyber-related incidents. So I think it shows the progress and the result of getting out there and doing these lessons. So something we're going to continue to expand on. We improved our London school arrival and dismissal plan. So unfortunately, I'm sure everybody's aware, we had an incident at London where there's a vehicle struck a pedestrian. Thankfully, there was no serious injuries. However, we knew that we needed to take some action to mitigate this from potentially happening again. Before that incident occurred, we were already underway on parking lot assessments, basically, and London was one of the top priorities. We knew that we needed to address some issues with it. And then when that incident occurred, we decided, hey, this is pretty urgent. We need to take action right away. So we came up with a plan that reduced congestion and improved overall pedestrian safety. And these procedures are now clearer for staff and for parents. You can see we have a dedicated staff parking area. We have an area for our parking drop-off and pickup, which basically means you have to park before you drop off and pick up. And then we have a dedicated one lane for a car line and a dedicated bus area as well. So it just cleared up some procedures and minimized the speed of vehicles going through the parking lot, vehicles not going around one another, and having one area that pedestrians can cross. So it mitigated some of the potential risk that existed with the parking lot before. I'm going to go into some safety upgrades, updates that we have planned, also things that are in progress. On the operations front, we are just numbering in general. So as the district the operations team is currently underway of kind of upgrading our signage in our rooms. You can see them kind of here in this room. There's new signage that has our district logo and the room number. As we're going through that, we also identified that the numbering over, and this is not unique to this district, many districts operate like after a number of years, the numbering just sort of gets out of whack. So they don't flow in a logical numerical order, which is really important, especially when we're talking safety. There's a very specific way that a building needs to be numbered. So as we're updating these placards, we are also renumbering the buildings so that they make sense in a numerical logical order per best practices and guidelines. It's not as simple as it sounds. There's a lot of systems that work off those numbers, our fire panels, our control systems. So there's a process there, so we're doing that. But additionally, with room numbering, we are, once the weather breaks and those buildings that have been renumbered, we're also going to be placing window decals with classroom numbers on the exterior. This is an important feature for law enforcement or even for fire departments, first responders. If the incident occurs at a school, it might be more efficient, it might be more have a tactical advantage if they approach the classroom, or they might need to get there quicker. It's very challenging to understand where that classroom is just by looking at a blueprint, or we might lose precious time that we need. The ability to identify a classroom from the exterior for law enforcement is critical. It's a recommendation that they made. District 214 has already done this. A lot of other districts already have this in place. So this is one of our initiatives here, is to get our windows numbered from the exterior. High visibility exterior door numbers is exactly what it says. You can see here in the image. Basically just upgrading our door numbers, our exterior door numbers, so that they look nicer and that they are more visible. Basically, it's a reflective material. It's a more permanent sort of placard, not just sort of a number that's taped on there. And it's just going to allow for easy identification of doors, whether it's day or night. Protruding classroom numbers. This is really common in universities and colleges. You'll walk through I was just at Joliet Junior College for a training, and as I was walking down the hallways, I saw it was very clear what room was what, and you can see it down the hallway. Especially for a law enforcement perspective, If you're going down the hallway, it's nice to kind of see what classroom I'm approaching versus getting right in front of it before I identify that classroom. So that's another one of those tactical advantages. But additionally, it's nice for our students and staff to be able to walk down and quickly identify a classroom or just be able to see where I'm going, easily navigate around the building. Reunification Task Force, this is one of the major sort of projects and initiatives that we are sort of in the planning phase with. If you're not familiar with what reunification is, it's basically the idea of safely reuniting students, staff with their loved ones after an incident where we need to evacuate the building or where we need to relocate to a safer place. The I Love You Guys Foundation, who created the standard response protocol, who we utilize, also created the standard reunification method, and it's basically the process of how you reunify students with their families. You can see it in the image here. This is a very general overview, but basically students get transported to the reunification site. There's a student assembly area. There's a bunch of staff there that have their roles and responsibilities, and parents then we release to them where the site is, where they can get their students. And then there's a very specific process on how we facilitate the reunification. In order to do this, though, you can imagine that it'd be very challenging for us to do this alone, because if we're impacted, it's likely the rest of our buildings are impacted, and we might not have the personnel resources to do this as efficiently and safely as possible. Many communities are now creating these mutual aid teams to kind of help facilitate these reunifications. Naturally, because my position is shared with District 59, we are creating this reunification task force, getting staff members here who showed interest, trained on reunification, as well as staff members at District 59. And then in the event where we need to actually conduct a reunification, we can support one another at our joint reunification site. This is one of the most important things, I think, as far as safety and ensuring that we can identify potential concerning situations or concerning subjects. So the focus of threat assessments is to strengthen early intervention strategies. Basically, it's the idea of understanding concerning behaviors, understanding concerning situations, identifying those, depending on how they can get reported to us by the community, a student, a staff member can get information and determine this is something concerning, we need to look into it further. However that comes about, and then we go into the inquire phase, which basically we gather as much information as we can, talk to everybody that's involved in the situation, and then we take all the information, and then this team forms, which is called the threat assessment team. It's a multidisciplinary team, involves school administrators, our support personnel like our counselors, social workers, school psychologists, our first responders. It's sort of this multidisciplinary lens that allows us to assess all this information and determine, one, if there is an actual threat, and then if there is a threat, how we're going to manage that or how we're going to deal with the situation or subject of concern. This is something that's required, again, through the School Safety Drill Act. Our staff has been trained on this. However, we are currently evaluating different training methods that we can get consistently to our staff and our threat assessment teams. We do have designated threat assessment teams for every building. And I just had the opportunity to attend a threat assessment campus trainer program where I'm actually certified to train our staff on threat assessments. So I think it's a good opportunity to get that internal training consistent across our district and just kind of fine tune some of our threat assessment procedures. But yeah, again, this is one of those important things that I think really builds the confidence of our staff, especially our administrators, to identify issues and ensure that we're managing them appropriately. Our visitor management kiosk is another project that's currently underway. Our visitor management, if we utilize Raptor, it's currently in place. Basically what is currently in place is when we have a visitor, a contractor, a parent come to one of our schools, they are buzzed into our secure vestibule, and then they have to provide an identification to our office staff. It runs them through a database that ensures they're not some sort of on any offender database where they're not allowed to be on school campus. So we utilize that right now, but we're looking at implementing this kiosk, and we're actually going to pilot 2 different kiosks at 2 different schools to just evaluate how they work before we decide to implement district-wide. But basically what a kiosk does is when a visitor comes to our building or a contractor, that kiosk will be in the vestibule. They encounter and they engage with that kiosk, and then they put their reason in there. I'm a visitor, I'm a contractor, I'm a parent picking up so-and-so. They scan their ID, that information gets routed to the office staff. office staff can then view and ensure that that person is cleared, and then address the need that that visitor, that contractor, whatever that person is there for. This takes a little bit of the administrative burden off of our staff, and it also ensures that everybody that comes into our building is getting screened. You can imagine there's some times where if I'm an office staff and I know this parent and I've seen them, 10 times already, it might be awkward for me to ask them for their ID. And this is just speaking from experience. We're not always asking somebody for ID because we know that parent, but we want to ensure we don't truly know if things have changed with individuals, and in order to stay compliant, we need to ensure that someone's coming into our building, that they're getting screened. So what this does is just takes that ability away from our secretaries and it puts it in the hands of our visitors, because now they're going to have to engage with that kiosk basically. It also provides accountability for all those who enter the school. So someone like myself, who is not assigned to one school, I'm assigned to all schools, so I can visit any school, and with the new badges that we're getting, I can scan my ID at this kiosk, and now I'm accounted for in that building. So now if we have to evacuate, me as someone who's not permanently assigned to that building, I'm accounted for, and they know that, hey, where's Danny? He's not here. He might be inside. Yeah.
A quick question. I'm a volunteer in a number of different schools, and in addition to providing ID every time, they still want me signing in and signing out. Does this take the place of doing that?
Yes, it will. Yes, this will also take away the 3 sign-in sheets we have: one for staff, one for parents, one for visitors.
Right.
So this will be all of that basically.
Okay,
so
thank you.
there's no need for paper stuff. And in the event of an emergency, if you sign into a building, I don't trust that somebody would grab that piece of paper and remember that you were in there. So this just provides that accountability, not just for staff, for like I said, visitors, contractors, anybody. We want to ensure we're accountable for everyone that walks into our building. Like I said, we're in the pilot phase. We're going to pilot 2 different kiosks, and then our hope is to make a decision and implement district-wide for the next school year. Stop the bleed training is another essential component. This is actually a requirement, school code, that requires us to have this training, and most districts are providing that training through some, like an online platform. And that's better than nothing, but to really have the stop the bleed training, it's going to be very difficult to do that through some sort of online training program. You can't learn how to put a tourniquet on unless you actually put a tourniquet on, like in training. So it'd just be very challenging to do that just to stay compliant. This is another one of the things we don't want to just do to be compliant. We want to do with a purpose. So having the stop the bleed training is important, and having the stop the bleed kits in our classrooms and other key areas in our building is going to be important in the event that there's severe injury, and our staff are trained on how to prevent or how to mitigate any potential further issues until medical personnel arrive. It also empowers them with life-saving skills. Very, very, very slim chance that they would ever have to utilize these skills in a school setting. However, it's more likely that they may have to step in and help somebody outside of school. So this just gives our staff that extra set of skills. Parking lot review and safety assessments. As I mentioned prior to the London incident that occurred, these parking lot review and safety assessments were already underway. In the 23-24 school year, 4 parking lots were assessed. We work with our consultant, Kimley Horn. They specialize specifically in school parking lots, basically improving the efficiency and safety of parking lots. Any district you go to, I promise you, if you ask them if they have issues in their parking lots, they're going to tell you yes. It's just when you have a parking lot with a bunch of people showing up at one time, you're going to encounter issues. It's never going to be perfect, but we're always looking at how we can improve. This is one of those things. We bring in a consultant who specializes in this. They can provide us options, and then we can evaluate that and determine what we need to do. So we have, as I mentioned, 4 parking lots that were completed in the 23-24 school year, 4 parking lots currently underway, and then we'll finish off for the final parking lots reviewed next school year. Third-party school safety assessments. This is important. I mean, I could walk through a building and I can identify a bunch of issues or things that maybe we need to address, or things that we need to look into, or things that we're doing well. However, having another set of eyes, or other people who also specialize in this and understand school safety and physical building security is always going to help us out, because we might identify things that we didn't think of, or things that maybe are relevant or emerging issues. Ensures we're complying with best practices. They identify areas of continued improvement. And another major part of this is anytime I've applied for several safety grants for schools, Every time I've applied, I can't remember one grant where I didn't apply where they asked, have you completed a third-party safety security assessment? And if so, what were the recommendations made? So we want to continue applying for these grants. We want to secure funding to help fund some of these safety projects, and having these security assessments done is going to increase our chances of getting those grants funded. If throughout the presentation you heard me continue to say we're always continuing to improve. That's what safety is all about, especially school safety. We're always looking at ways where we can improve. I also encourage our school community to have a voice in this too. This safety is not just my responsibility as a safety director. It's not just the superintendent's responsibility, a principal's responsibility. Everybody plays a role. I say that all the time. That includes our staff, our families, our first responders, like everybody in our community. So please, if the community members watching, those in attendance, if you have concerns or things, ideas, please present them to the district. We want to hear from you as well. And with that, I'll take any questions if there are any.
So Danny, we talked about our SROs, and most of us have met our SROs in the buildings. I find them to be very engaging, reaching out to the kids. There's been a lot of negativity, though, in other school districts about SROs. Can you speak to what our SROs do and what they don't do? Because I think what they don't do is what people need to understand.
Yeah, so our SROs all have had the proper training, number one. When you select an SRO, you don't just put any police officer in a school setting. It takes an officer with a specific set of skills. They also need the proper training. So through NASRO, who is the gold standard for SRO training, they say somebody needs to be properly selected and carefully trained to be an effective SRO. So I think that's a main part of it. The process of when selection happened, that was before I started, but I think we got strong SROs in our buildings, and they're looking at ways to improve, and they really truly do want to help, and they understand the role of an SRO. They're not there as an enforcer or somebody to really hand down citations only or deal with juvenile delinquency issues. That's not the case. The main priority of an SRO, yes, they are there to ensure that the building remains as safe as possible, but they're there as a resource too to help support our students, be another trusted adult. So I think they just understand the true role of what an SRO is, and not just sort of a glorified security guard, because sometimes that's what it is seen as, and that's not. If you're putting in an SRO for the sole purpose of keeping your building safe, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right. Thank you, Danny.
So you spoke about the rapid response team, if there was, a unification team where if there was, we had to clear out this building and we needed to reunify, or if there was some mass event in which we had to, provide a widespread evacuation. Is there an opportunity? I know you talked about District 59, and, from what I understand, you rely on surrounding districts that your people have one job to do, you may need more. Through the Wheeling Police Department or some of their organizations, is there an opportunity to train and partner with community organizations to help support with those efforts? Mundelein, Vernon Hills, they have community organizations that go through that same reunification training, so they're available to help out should that be needed. Is that something that you would work with our local police departments to see if that was something that was needed?
It's certainly possible. I mean, one of the things that we also need to be cognizant of is that when we're reunifying students with parents, that a community organization that might be lending support needs to really understand the dynamic, understand the trauma, and that they're not just pointing in a direction to go. So again, it's one of those things where that community organization, there would need to be a strong training process, a really in-depth relationship that has been built, so that we know that at a second, we need to activate that we know those people are going to be going in there and doing the work that needs to be done in a way that we know our teachers would be doing.
Thinking like Omni, I'm thinking like places
Sure.
that we rely on for mental and behavioral health support within our students
Yeah.
and families anyway, if we had an event. And I'm sorry, with the climate out in the world right now, it is not unforeseen that at some point in time, something community-wide may happen,
Right.
Baruch Hashem, I hope not, but but also as we're talking about this kind of stuff, I think we need to be very cognizant of the time in which we are living in.
Yeah, and so I agree with you, and I also, what I would say is that there are layers of, so what happens after the reunification actually occurs, and where, so it's kind of the first responders, but then, when the first responders are done, who's in the aftermath of that. So I think that there's a lot of different layers of community-based possible, support needs. So I think it's all something that kind of just needs to be in the planning.
Yeah,
But
it is a good question. I mean, it wouldn't, so somebody that we definitely would partner with is like our Region 9 Healthcare Coalitions. They have, they partner with the hospitals that we would potentially be using in these situations, and the Emergency Management Agency, Cook County Emergency Management Agency. So, and they do have trauma-informed teams as well, and people that have specialized training. So definitely those are people that we would partner with. They already understand this type of training, reunification. They conduct their own exercises. I actually just went to a meeting today about it, and they actually requested that school districts be part of these coalitions because they're typically left out. So this is something that they're making a request. And so that is definitely something that some people that like Dr. Connolly said, they would have to understand what a reunification is, because many organizations that may support us, it's just not what they do. But if it's somebody that has a background in it and are willing to actually provide a realistic effort to help, then yeah, that's something.
I work with a large organization in Lake County. Like, some of us are trained specifically, should we have to help out in a situation
Yeah, like a
that.
CERT
And our
team or
role-
something like that.
Yeah, and our role is very defined out to what it is. So thank you very much.
So, Michael, I was just going to say, Debbie and I attended the reunification workshop at the last conference, and I think we both walked away saying, wow, I mean, the complexity of this is not something either of us had ever thought about. And addressing it and coming back with a plan, I assume, is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
if you-
well-
you have a plan now, but a future plan.
Well, that, and we've been training. I mean,
Yeah,
so we have had in this room and in the entirety of this floor have conducted tabletop exercises with first responders. We actually have, the ability to do tabletop training and have on our own. We have literal, like outlines of our buildings, and a reunification layout that we can, model all of those things. And so our administrative team have gone through those trainings over the past 2 years. And so.
And tabletop training is really good, and it's definitely a great first step. Part of the plan here would be to now do a actual walkthrough exercise at our reunification site, so that way we're prepared in the event that we have to go there. It's not our first time doing it. It seems pretty simple when you think about it, but as some members of the board expressed, they attended that seminar on it, and you can imagine if you didn't have the proper training, it could be pretty chaotic.
Yeah. And I will also tell you that I guarantee you that we are light years ahead in what other many school districts might be, because, when I, have conversations about, well, okay, I'm just going to say, at the beginning of the year, in the incident that occurred in Georgia, their reunification site was their football field. Yeah, no, that's not, so there's a learning curve that I really feel good about the work that the team, Kim and Michael and Danny have been doing, to get us ready for that. So,
If I could, because she's not going to say it on her own, even before Danny got here, Kim was in the process of building the reunification teams, working with the Wheeling Police after the Holmes incident. And like Mike said, we are light years ahead because of the work that Kim's done on it, so.
100%.
Phil?
Yeah, Danny, an extremely thorough presentation. It's quite amazing, the breadth of activities now that we have to do as a school district, and even consider having to do as a school district in order to keep our students and staff safe. I appreciate the efforts.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you much, Danny, for all your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, next is the summer 2025 construction overview.
Yeah, so later this evening, the board has the opportunity to approve our summer 2025 construction bids. So we thought it would just be a good time for Michael to briefly just kind of remind the board of what is planned for this summer. So I'll turn it over to him.
Within where we look at tonight approving the bids for the summer construction, There's a pretty detailed list of what we're looking at this summer. And just so that we go through a little bit, there's a lot of flooring, a lot of new bathrooms, teacher lounge flooring throughout the district, some boilers, finishing up the last of our 3 playgrounds that we are responsible for. Longfellow is owned by the Buffalo Grove Park District, so that's still to come. Finishing out HVAC work, we only will have after this year about 1 or 2 rooftop units left to replace. Exciting new developments in turf fields at Twain and Whitman, enhancing the parking lot safety at Whitman with a new bus turnaround. So lots of really good stuff coming. Student lockers at London and Holmes with Cooper to follow the following year. We are in the last throes of being a repair renovation and really just replacing everything district to becoming a preventative maintenance and special projects district, which will take a lot of load off of the construction funds and return dollars as we start to get less federal dollars and possibly less state dollars, depending on what happens with the budget, give a lot of more money back to the ed fund. That being said, we've been able to do this because of surpluses and haven't taken anything from the ed fund or any of the others while doing it. I have shared a 26-27 outlook. It's in your executive content. It's something we will make public, but wanted the board to see first. The last 2 years, summer 26 and summer 27, will mostly be completion of flooring throughout buildings, completion of bathrooms, and then major classroom work like our CCC rooms, art rooms, science rooms, and next year a major overhaul to London to cure some of the oddities of space challenges that are in that building and create some more welcoming environments in places that students need them. So take a look at that in your packet. We will make it available to the public after you've had a chance to review, but really exciting the next 2 years, what we have planned.
Thank you.
Okay, and then finally for our reports this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Childress, who is going to take us through her team's update, which lots going on, a lot of good stuff, and so I'm going to let them dive in. So.
Good evening. Before I get started, I just want to take a moment to recognize some of the members of our team that are here this evening, because while I'm the one here at the podium and Dr. Shapiro will be joining me at one point in the presentation, this is the work of many, not just our admin that are here, but as well as, our specialists, our teachers, and a number of other individuals. But I do want to recognize the team that I have the pleasure to lead here in District 21. They are a very awesome team to work with, a very hardworking group of folks. So I want to make sure that they stand and are recognized this evening. So Carolyn Droll, our Director of Math. Amy Breiler, our Director of Literacy. Anya Figueroa, our Director of Language Services. Janelle Hackett, our Director of Professional and Community Learning. There you are. See, he's a tricky one, right? Chris Lipatino, our Director of Student Enrichment and Supports. And then, as I mentioned, Dr. Shapiro will be joining me shortly. Dr. Rodriguez was not able to join us this evening, but she also is a very important piece of our team. So again, just wanted to take a moment and recognize our team members that are here. For efficiency, the slides will be shared with just Dr. Shapiro and I, so I will be presenting on all of the areas other than the ones that Dr. Shapiro is going to report on attendance. So for our literacy update, even though we have a Director of Literacy, Amy, who does a fabulous job, she works very closely with Anya Figueroa with the Language Services, that whole department, as well as some initiatives that we've done that Dr. Rodriguez has also been supporting this year. We've gone through a lot of changes with our literacy over the last couple of years, and I know that it's something that has, been challenging for teachers because there have been so many changes, but I do want to emphasize that, Illinois, the state board adopted an Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan, and we had a certain timeline that we had to make sure that all of our practices were in alignment with that, as well as the current research and things that are happening in the field of literacy. And so that was something that then had us move faster than we maybe normally would with some of these initiatives, but we really needed to make sure that we were getting in alignment with these pieces. One of the things, right, that we've been really focusing on, in addition to getting, our curriculum aligned, is supporting our teachers with their instructional planning, as we've made so many changes, right, in a fairly quick amount of time here in the last couple of years, and then adjusting our scope and sequence accordingly, and using assessment data to plan for instruction. We've been doing a lot of learning walks, and actually I was just kind of going through some of the walks that we've done. We have been in over 200 classrooms, probably closer to 300 classrooms this school year. And I will share with you, first of all, that those are some of the best days, right, of my work here in the district, getting to go in and see all the great things that our teachers are doing with our students, having opportunities to listen to students read and hear about what they're learning about. It's really important, I think, that we spend the time on the ground in the classrooms, not just so we can see all of the great things that our teachers are doing, but also to see some of the challenges that they have to face with trying to meet all the various needs of our students. And so it's something that our team has really dedicated a lot of time to, and we feel really passionate about the importance that we spend the time in those classrooms to be able to look at student engagement, look at our curriculum implementation, and again, see all the great things as well as the challenges that our teachers have to deal with on a daily basis. This graph here, at the table here at the bottom, kind of just is a very high-level overview of some of the updates that have been done. In terms of content and academic vocabulary instruction, right, basically K through 5. Again, that is something that Amy, Anya, and Dr. Rodriguez have all been working on together to implement those pieces. Phonics, right, in K through 5, in both English and Spanish. So the Taller Fonética is actually the Spanish version of the benchmark phonics that we have adopted. K through 2, you see there that there's some language about oral language development. Again, as a reminder, that 52% of our students in our district are English learners at some range, right? Some identified range of English learner. And oral language development is particularly important for them, but it's really important for all students, right? But that is a really important piece, and that's why it has been something that we really have been emphasizing. Additionally, in 3rd through 5th, we have made some instructional pieces around close reading to be able to help students access grade level text, which also includes some test taking strategies. I think that that's one of the things that is, really important, that we're making sure that all of our students in our district, regardless of their programming, that they have access to grade level content, because that's really how we're going to move students out of, some of those intervention pieces into that meeting and exceeding. They have to have exposure to grade level content regardless of their instructional programming. And then 6th through 8th grade, right? More integration with student engagement strategies, increased use of nonfiction text, explicit grammar instruction. That's something that we've been seeing and actually pushing down even in some of the 3rd through 5th grade, because there's more need for that. And then again, the content and academic vocabulary instruction. Lots of work happening there with lots of people participating in it. And you'll see a little bit later when I share some of the scores that we definitely are seeing the fruits of our teachers' labor in these efforts. Reading incentives. So we had some buildings in previous years that were kind of doing this just like, right, individual buildings. And then we made the decision, because of some of the successes we were seeing, that we wanted to do it as a district-wide type of initiative. And so this year already, right, we have students have read almost 22,000 books and almost 1.5 million minutes of reading, which is awesome. We were very pleasantly surprised how well that initiative caught on and how serious our students have taken it. And the more students read, the more that their vocabulary increases and the better readers and comprehension thinker, they'll be stronger with their comprehension as well. Any questions about the literacy portion? Okay, math update. So we have been beginning the review for a new K through 5 math resource. And through the vetting process that Carolyn did with a number of teachers and specialists and other individuals in the district, it was narrowed down to Amplified Desmos, which actually we implemented in our middle schools a couple of years ago. So this is kind of nice that it's going to be, hopefully, right, after we finish the pilot, if it goes through, that it will be a K-8 resource that we have in place. We were very, very pleasantly surprised that we had so many teachers express interest in being a part of the pilot. So 90 classrooms are participating in the pilot, which is phenomenal. So many teachers jumping in and wanting to be a part of the pilot, which will then mean that about just under 2,000 of our students will have access to seeing and working with the pilot. So that's already begun. And we had training, and those are some pictures there from the trainings that, again, very well attended trainings. Even we had one offering after school to try and offset the issues with subbing needs. And that was a full training. I think we had about 45-ish, Carolyn? Yeah, teachers that came in for an evening training. And so again, just phenomenal effort and buy-in from our teachers. And that really is extremely exciting, because if teachers are excited about it, that means they'll help us get students excited about it. This is just a slide about some of the highlights with it. And I'm not going to read the slide to you, but I think the important pieces, Dr. Conley says it often, that, right, we have had everyday math for 30 years. Right, we've had the same math resource at our elementary level. And so this new resource is, right, more up to date and has current best practices in the area of math, and then has some really nice technology integration pieces. I will share with you that, again, we have, right, Desmos at our middle schools, and when Carolyn and I have walked that in those classrooms and seen it in action, students are very highly engaged with it. And it's not technology just for technology's sake. It's actually, right, really some really nice interactive pieces for students to be able to use. So in terms of next steps, right, we're going to kind of watch the pilot, visit some classrooms, do some work with teachers on co-planning and co-teaching, gather feedback from the teachers who have been a part of the pilot, conduct some focus groups, and then hopefully make a decision for implementation by the end of March. Any questions about the elementary portion?
Just as a question, you're going to conduct focus groups. Have you gotten any feedback yet from the students at all?
We just started. We're about,
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just a quick
Yeah.
question about the math curriculum. One thing that I knew was very helpful for my children in the elementary age was the conceptual approach to math. Coming from, my background where it was a lot of rote memorization, and that's great and that served a purpose. I feel like my children have a better understanding of the concept of integrating numbers together and why math is a global curriculum and not just the work you do in that course. Does the new curriculum build on that type of thought process, that it's still very conceptual of how numbers work together?
Yeah, there's a lot of real life examples, and those you can particularly see it with some of the way that they integrate the technology with some modules and things like that. And so, right, talking about the speed of a car and how far you can go and how fast you can go, measuring, right, trying to create different measurements and things like that. And how do you how much do you need of this versus that ingredient, right, to get to a certain thing. So absolutely, I think that it's, real world, but then also very tactile, right? Like there's a lot of those pieces. Carolyn has been leading some work over the last couple of years around what's called building thinking classrooms. And it's a lot of, right, how do we teach children how to collaborate with one another to solve problems? And we've been doing, moving more towards vertical learning. So if you go into our classrooms, right, you'll see some vertical whiteboard spaces. And that has been super neat to see. Our kids getting out of their seats, huddling around, right? Like, so, anywhere from 2 to 5 kids, usually 2 to 4 kids, huddled around a whiteboard, and there's whiteboards all over the classrooms. This is both at both the elementary and the middle school level, and they're solving math problems together. And really thinking, right, without being, like you were mentioning, not having just rote memorization. And the feedback from kids on that, they really enjoy that a lot. And you can tell when you go in the classrooms, just the energy in the classroom and some of the things that they come up with and how they solve the problems, it's just truly amazing.
Well, I think it not only gives them agency, but it makes them enjoy doing math. It's not just, oh, well, now's the time where we do math. Like it makes sense to them why we're teaching them this way. And it's been a joy to see my children grow in their math skills because of the new ways that we're teaching them to enjoy, the way math works together. And it just, I'd like to learn more about the curriculum. I'll probably have more questions for you, but thank you.
For sure.
If I could just share on the vertical whiteboard part. So I had the opportunity to go into one of our middle school, a couple of our middle school math classrooms, and they were, the productive struggle, the problem solving, the figuring out, the kind of charting out. Quite frankly, as someone who also learned math by rote, and we had the holy cards. I went to a Catholic school, but it was like the timed test. You had to go. I still have nightmares about those things, and the things, the process that the kids were going through, I sat back and quite frankly, I got lost, but they were getting there, right? And so I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad that I'm not teaching this right now because I would be probably screwing them up. It was something to see.
So I assume, based on the time frame you've talked about, that you're not going to have any real empirical data on what's happening. It's going to be based on your observations and what you're hearing from teachers to make the decision, and what you presumably heard from other school districts on how this program has worked.
Yeah, it's brand new. It's a brand new program, actually. So if there are any school districts, they're going to be jumping in when we're jumping in. Again, what we do know is the success that we've had at the middle school level, and that this is formatted in a very similar manner. And so we are anticipating, right, that yeah, we're gonna see some nice results. But to your point, Arlen, we have already done winter map, right? And then we won't have spring map until May. And this pilot is hitting right in the middle.
Right.
So in terms of that type of data, right,
Yeah.
it's not real tight on the bookend of it.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. So I kind of already talked about middle school. Let me see. We do have a data point here, though, to, in terms of on our mid-year common assessment, right, we found that more students answered some of the questions correctly than they did in last year for the mid-year assessment. So definitely, right, starting to see students, again, embrace the learning with math. And I definitely think there's a lot of pieces in play. And I can't say it enough that it wouldn't happen without our teachers, right? Without our teachers taking the time, digging into the resources, talking with each other about what they're doing and what they're having success with. And really, sometimes it's scary to let kids be in charge of their own learning, right? There's a piece of trust that has to happen, especially when you talk about middle schoolers. And I have a middle schooler, so I feel like I can say that. And 2 older children, so this is my last middle schooler. And yeah, that really takes some a lot of thinking about how do you organize your classroom so that students can stay focused on what they need to stay focused on. And our teachers are doing a phenomenal job with doing those pieces.
I think one of the things also, and Carolyn or Beatrice, please, correct me if I'm wrong, but the work that we're also involved with 214 and 214's, feeder schools, and the math, the cooperative math curriculum work that we're doing, and in viewing some of that work, when I, kind of visited Forest View, there is a good connection to the kind of work that the staff has been doing, at the 214, collaboratives, and what the types of learning will be embedded through Desmos, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a new partnership, right, that we've been working on with 214 and the feeder districts. But some of this work is work that Carolyn and her team have been working on, for longer than just this year, right? And again, teachers really jumping in to the book studies that we've been doing that are very tightly aligned to the collaborative and professional development that we're doing with 214 feeder groups, for sure.
And that is being facilitated by University of Illinois, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Really important and good to hear about the collaboration with 214, because some of us over the years have felt that that was lacking, not from our side necessarily, but so that's really great news to hear.
Yeah, I just think it's good that we're moving in this direction, or looking to move in this direction, because it does have nice alignment, and I think it will put us in a good spot, as we're matriculating our students over there, so.
Absolutely. Wanted to give a quick update on some expansion of elementary STEM opportunities that we're doing. And Dr. Rodriguez, right, our Director of Science and Social Studies, has been working with Chris Lepatino on applying for some grants. And so we're really excited that we have gotten actually 2 waves of monies to start to move this work forward. So the first wave, right, was Kilmer, Frost, and Field that got awarded some monies. And then their teachers, right, we have some teachers that have been trained. And then just recently, Poe, Tarkington, and Twain have been awarded some monies to begin expanding the Project Lead the Way at the elementary level for next year. And so we're really excited about these opportunities for our students to have more STEM opportunities at the elementary level, in addition to the special periods that they have, but just some additional pieces. And Project Lead the Way is the modules and things that are associated with that are phenomenal. And I think that it's going to be really great for our elementary students to have that exposure instead of just waiting till middle school for Project Lead the Way. So I wanted to make sure that we shared that, because it's really exciting direction to be moving in for our elementary students. Any questions about that? Okay. Turn it over to Dr. Shapiro for a little bit.
All right, well, good evening. I'm excited to share some of the updates about our attendance initiative and some of the enhancements we've made since I last presented in August. One of the first things we did was establishing attendance codes, so working really closely with the info services team to create codes in PowerSchool that allows us to be able to track when students are absent and why they're absent, and looking at codes such as illness, vacation days. Using our health clinic, we were able to add a code for that. So really being able to disaggregate the data by code. We were able to create attendance toolkits to provide strategies and supports for our staff and our principals to be able to share messaging with their families and their family newsletters, some letters to send to families, some email templates, and different tools that our staff can use regularly. We provided attendance updates throughout the year, really just making sure that our building administrators have access to the data and looking at it in different ways, as you'll see in just a second, more updated attendance tonight. We have been able to automate some of our emails, so every Friday, our building administrators receive an email of students who have missed 10% or more of the school year to date. So they are constantly being being informed of the students who are chronically absent. And so we want to make sure that those students are constantly on our radar, that we're able to address those in real time and looking at that information regularly. Our really exciting piece is starting in January. We hired 2 attendance liaisons, and so we have Bodana Andrusik and Elsa Skowronski, who have joined our team and been able to support attendance at all of the tiers. So really working to think about how are we addressing attendance at a school-wide, district-wide level, as well as addressing those individual student needs. So individual schools are able to refer students that then Bodana and Elsa are able to support and work with the families and the students to make sure that they are coming to school and really dig deeper into the reasons why they may not be coming to school. We're really excited that Bodana speaks Russian and Ukrainian, and Elsa is a Spanish speaker, so we have our top languages represented there. So again, we have that referral form that allows us to really address those. So we have been digging a lot into some of the research and providing tips. They've been engaging in some observations at the school level, looking at the culture and the climate of the arrival process and the attendance components. And so we're excited to continue that work with our school leaders over the next coming months.
And those attendance liaisons, they're a direct result of the district's success in getting our Stronger Connections grant from the state of Illinois. So, you know, and obviously Beatrice and her team, you know, worked really hard on getting that grant, you know, application in, and it was a competitive grant process. And so, and they gave us $100,000 more than we asked for. Isn't that right? Something like that. Yeah, they gave us more than what we asked for, which was nice. So it really gave us some good options.
Obviously, we didn't ask for enough.
Well, no, we asked for the maximum amount. They decided to give us more, so, yeah.
So we just wanted to provide you a quick update of some of our attendance data from the beginning of the year through February 7th. So this is a graph of attendance by grade level. So in the green are those students who have attended 95% or more of the school year to date as of February 7th. The yellow is between that 90 and 95%. So those are our students who are more on that watch list. We want, you know, a couple days and they could slip one way or the other. And so we want to make sure we're catching those. And then those students who are in red are what we are considering, in the state of Illinois, considers chronically absent students. And so those are those excused and unexcused reasons that students are absent and missing more than 10% of the school year. You could see that our earliest learners are the ones that have the highest absence rates. And so that is something we definitely want to take a look at and make sure we're addressing with our pre-K, our kindergartners, first graders, making sure that those habits become solidified, that we really work on creating positive habits to come to school every day so that we can see those effects later on. These are our pre-K sites. Tarkington, Hawthorne, and Whitman all have pre-K, so that is separated out our attendance by pre-K. And then by school, this is our K through 5 attendance schools. So again, really just working to support the schools that need, we're working through the tier 1 piece of what are we doing universally to make sure that that message is loud and clear at all of our schools of the importance of attendance. And so really sending that message to everyone, as well as working with the students who are in that chronically absent range. And our middle schools.
And obviously, it's been a little bit of a rough winter season in terms of illness. So, you know, I think that hopefully as those things cycle through, you know, we'll be able to you know, gain some ground. But it's, you know, absences have been up because of a lot of different things rolling around out there. So it's just something to note.
And as we get the breakdowns via code, we'll be able to see that better, I assume. That is the rationale for why we're seeing absences in different places.
Yeah, and again, I think one of the things that Alyssa and the team and our building offices have really been working on is to try and get more information as to reasons for it, because sometimes it's just, you know, they call in, my student's absent, it's not necessarily, you know, telling us exactly what's going on. So, you know, that's another thing is, as they've been cleaning up the attendance codes, as we've been working with our attendance secretaries, is to really try and make sure that we're getting as much usable data so that we do have a good picture, like, but just anecdotally, everybody's sick. So, that has been
Listening to
an
the
issue.
board, yes.
Yeah, right.
Any questions about attendance?
I just had a quick one. Obviously, absenteeism post-COVID is not just something that we're dealing with. It's being dealt with on a national level. So as we look at times where the world is more unstable or times where we obviously have illnesses, and we're looking at our data, obviously, I'm sure we're looking at surrounding data. I know when we had this last little incident, you conferred with local data, but by average, and I apologize, I'm losing my voice, are we about where similar districts are on a national level as far as absenteeism, and are we invoking the same kinds of strategies, or are there things that we're doing better, frankly?
Actually, I think right now we're probably trending a little bit better nationally than nationally. Again, there's.
Look better than the national numbers, that's why I'm asking.
Right, they do, yeah. So I think that's one of the areas that we're, I think we're seeing some good results here. And a lot of that, again, is due to the level of intervention that we're putting in place. So, but, it's also cyclical. So again, these times, it's a little bit hard to know exactly. Right now, the data is pretty noisy, right? You've got a lot of external influences. I will also say, though, that a big piece of this, it'll be interesting to see, because as the return to office policies begin to start taking root, and they are, good, bad, or otherwise, that has been some of the impetus, I think, for some of the absence, right? It's kind of like, well, it's okay. I can work from home. The kids can, remote learning, things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see if that starts to change a little bit as more and more industries are requiring people to come back into the office. So.
Other questions? Thank you. Oh.
All right. I'm not going to go as in-depth as we normally do for our data this evening, but I did want to share some pieces to highlight to the board, since we hadn't shared our winter map data. So just, again, just a few highlights. One thing that we changed this year with reading was that we added first grade, had first graders taking map data in reading. And that was something that we felt was really important to get a handle on how the first graders were performing in a similar assessment to be able to follow those students through. So just a couple of things I want to highlight here on these slides. So at the top, you have this winter, right? Winter 2024. So the students took it in December. And then last winter, the data from those two data points. You'll see there, if you look on the left, that the median growth is higher this year than it was last year. So this year, the median growth was at 45, whereas last year it was at 40. And then again, right, we always like to look at our students who are approaching meets and exceeds and what is happening with those groups. So basically those yellow, green, and blue bars. And so comparing this winter to last winter, we saw an increase of 3% of students that fell into those, again, approaches, meets, and exceeds. So going from 45% of our students falling in those categories last year to 48% this year. So definitely seeing, right, that it trending in the correct direction. I wanted to share some data as far as grade by grade. And I'm going to talk more through the summary slide, but the important piece that I think that this particular slide shows us is, with the exception of that second grade, right, we see that red group shrinking. And that's really, we need to see, right, the students who are, really needing that intense intervention. We want to see that shrinking, and we absolutely do see that. And again, that is due to efforts of our classroom teachers, but as well as our interventionists that we have in place, focusing on trying to support those students. I included 23 winter only so that you have the backup for this slide, which I want to spend a little bit more time on, which is the cohort data information. So, right, as I already mentioned, we have a large EL population. About 52% of our students are ELs. And so the cohort information is important regardless, but it's particularly important when we have such a large EL population, because as the students move through our system, we would expect, right, that their achievement continues to improve. And so this, again, is just a summary report comparing last winter to this winter and that grade level cohorts and how much they increased or held steady. And so you see there with the reading, across all of the grade levels with the exception of fifth and sixth that held, or I'm sorry, fifth to sixth and sixth to seventh that held steady, right, at those percentiles. All of the other cohorts grew, right? Their achievement of those students in the meets, exceeds, and approaching, all of them grew. And then on the intervention, right, those tier 3 kiddos that we have that are in the red, all of those numbers have decreased, and that's absolutely the trend that we want to see. And so again, you know, we really appreciate all of the efforts of all the different members and teachers and specialists and everybody that works in our system in the efforts to making these things happen, because it truly is a system-wide effort to be able to show some of these data points that are really showing that we're moving in the right direction with the reading achievement in our district. Any questions about that? Okay. And then when we talk about, right, MAP basically sets reading growth targets for students. And so we are always looking at what percentage of our students met their target that was, right, calculated through the software. And so definitely, again, we see an increase over last year, where last year we had 45% of our students meet their targets, and this year we had 49% of our students meet their targets. So again, that's, you know, definitely what we want to see. We want to see that number increasing. So similar graphs for math. Again, if we look at what the median growth was, you see that it went from the 56th percentile in 2023 to the 63rd percentile this year. And so again, right, that median is shifting in the direction that we want it to shift in, most definitely. And then when we look at the achievement bars there, again, we're seeing some pretty nice growth where when we're looking at our approaches, meets, and exceeds students, we saw an increase of 6% of students falling into one of those 3 categories, moving from 51% in 2023 to 57% in 2024. So again, those are some pretty nice shifts in terms of the achievement of our students that we're seeing those bands grow and definitely in the direction we want them to. That doesn't mean that we don't have work to do, but it at least means that the efforts that are being put in, that we are starting to see some good shifts in the right direction. Any questions about that? Okay. Now, when we look at the achievement by grade level, right, it's kind of, you see that it's not as straight of a trajectory as we see with reading. Some of that is to be expected just because of the way that reading instruction builds, right, year to year versus how math instruction, right, based on the standards and things that are being taught. But I do think that it also is, you know, in support of that it was time for us to really look at the resource that we have in front of our children as well, right? That because we don't have a standard pattern, it definitely was time to look for something to see if there was something better to meet the needs of our students and support our teachers in addressing those needs. And again, I have the 23 chart really only for the sake of being able to then have the backup for this summary chart here. Right, and so we're again seeing the blue, green, and yellow bands growing, some grade level cohorts more than others. Remember that the 4th to 5th these are our kindergarten cohort friends that were part of COVID, right? So our current fourth graders were in kindergarten that year of remote learning. And right, not to make an excuse, but there probably is something to that playing a part in that, in those pieces of data. And then again, but most of the data points are definitely moving in the right direction, where we're seeing that the students in the tier 3 red groups shrinking, and the students in that meets, exceeds, and approaching growing, with the exception of that 4-5 and the holding steady 5th to 6th. Any questions about that? Okay. And then again, when we are looking at the what percentage of students met their growth targets, some really good data there in comparison to last year. This year to last year, 6% more students met their growth targets than last year. So that's good. Any questions about that data before I move on? So I want to talk a little bit about partnerships. I think Dr. Connolly already kind of led some of the discussion on the 214 Regional Math Collaborative, right, that we're doing with that. So I won't add too much more to that, other than, you know, we do have our teachers participating, as well as our, you know, Carolyn and I participate in that PD that's happening at different points throughout the year. The professional learning partnership with the feeder district from 1-6, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because I have a slide specific on that, as well as the literacy night. So I'm going to skip over those for now. I did want to highlight that we recently, Anya and I recently went to a meeting on English learner leadership at 214, which was a fabulous meeting. I was really happy that they put that together, that the high school district put that together for all of the feeder districts to hear about the shifts that they're making with their multilingual learners. And so that we're aware of what our students are going to be going into, the students that are going to remain in our program. And it was very well organized and time well spent. So that was a really great opportunity for Anya and I to go and collaborate with people from other districts and hear what they're doing, and share some of the great things that we're doing here to meet the needs of multilingual learners. And then tomorrow, actually, I will be hosting the other teaching and learning assistant superintendents that are part of the feeders. We rotate who hosts that, and tomorrow is my day. So they will all be here with me tomorrow morning. So I'm going to circle back to the family literacy nights. This was something, right, that Amy approached Indian Trails, so last spring, maybe? It was like last spring, about looking at doing some more work with the library. And so we have so far had 3 family literacy nights. And you can see there from the numbers on the attendance, I mean, phenomenal attendance from our families at those nights. They have been very beneficial for our families to just get familiar with the library, all of the things that are offered at the library. And then, of course, right, we had some very generous donations from the Rotary Club. And then also the Bank of Trust is going to be donating some books as well, so that our students could each take a book home for themselves. So that was awesome. And then again, you know, thanks to our teachers who, you know, went those evenings as well to lead some story time as one of the activities. There was STEM activities, the choosing the book activities, and again, just getting familiar with the library and getting students library cards if they didn't have it. So we are extremely appreciative of the partnership with Indian Trails Library, and then we also have more of those events coming up. And then I also just wanted to share, as we have been trying to increase our collaboration with not only 214, but all of the feeder districts. One of the things that we've done, this is our second year, right, as far as dividing up teachers that are in the specials areas, and each district hosting one of those groups. And this year we hosted our PE teachers. which Chris was the host there at Holmes. And we had 120 PE teachers from the area join us in a conference-style professional development where they could choose from a variety of sessions, and you can see some of the pictures there from that event. Any questions about that?
Just briefly, I had the opportunity to go to the Family Literacy Night with Tarkington. The excitement from the students was just overwhelming, and I hope that, Amy, we have an opportunity to sit down and debrief with Indian Trails. I know they were very excited to be able to offer this as to the greatest extent possible, because the kids were just unbelievably excited with everything they could drag their parents to from one session to the next, and to see their teachers somewhere other than in the classrooms as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
it was truly an outstanding evening.
Yeah, the turnout has just been amazing for those. So we're definitely planning to continue those efforts. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you see, a lot going on, a lot of great stuff. Thank you, everybody, for your presentations this evening. And with that, that concludes our staff communications.
Okay, and we have now reached the public comment section of our meeting. The board will allow any individual to share a public comment for up to 3 minutes. Such comments should not include the discussion of personnel matters, which should be brought directly to the attention of the appropriate school official. During public comment, the board and administration listen to comments but may not respond to the public. I have just been handed one, and that is for Ben Coleman.
Ben, I don't think it's on. If you just flip there should be a switch on the top there. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a little better, thank you. Can I please have my time back? Thank you. Good evening, my name is Ben Kuhlman, and I am the current president of the District 21 Education Association. We represent the teachers, education support personnel, and custodial maintenance staff here in District 21. We are addressing you today to start a new tradition. We have no specific message or goal today except to say that we are grateful that we work in a state that values public education, and we are grateful that our board and our superintendent are working to protect students and staff from the uncertainty and change happening elsewhere. We hope that regular and open communication with the board will help our district remain strong in uncertain times. In that spirit, we would like to thank the board members for meeting with us and answering our questions. I want to close by mentioning 2 people who will be leaving at the end of this school year. Janet Jordan is a wonderful person and a dedicated teaching assistant at Holmes Middle School who will be retiring this year. She has helped many people in her time at Holmes, and she will be missed. Also, I want to thank Bob Gurney for his kindness, professionalism, and his promptness in responding to concerns from the association. His new district will benefit greatly from his leadership. Thank you for the chance to contribute, and thank you for the work you all do in support of students and staff here in District 21. We are excited to be a partner in the decision-making process.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, Mike, is there anyone submitted a request online?
Yes, we actually have one. We have a Megan B. I'm going to unmute her here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Before I begin addressing my concerns, I want to first acknowledge and thank the Equity and Learning team for their dedication. I'm encouraged by the commitment from some of our administration to support these invaluable teachers whose work is critical to the success of our students. It's heartening to see their contributions being recognized, and I hope that momentum continues. That being said, I still do have significant concerns about where we are headed. I would like to ask, are we truly using the right curriculum for our students? Is this progress we're seeing enough, or should we be pushing further? And most importantly, is this curriculum tailored to meet the needs of all of our students, or were teachers simply handed a program with little input? When comparing ourselves to neighboring districts and reflecting on concerns raised by literacy teachers in the last month's public comment, I am left questioning whether the instructional planning choices that we've made are genuinely the best for our students. While we've seen some improvements, the data still shows troubling gaps in literacy and foundational skills. Progress is being made, but it's not enough for some, and certainly not at the pace we all need. I'm particularly encouraged by the recent changes to the math curriculum, which is a step in the right direction. But again, we must ask, is this enough? Are we on the right path? Because we can't afford to rest on small wins while larger issues persist. We need to ensure that curriculum we're using is the best fit for our students and teachers today, not just something that looks good on paper. I'm deeply concerned by the district's focus on attendance liaisons, asking businesses on social media to incentivize attendance rather than addressing the root causes of the disengagement. Again, we need real solutions and engaging relevant curriculum and leadership that focuses on sustainable, meaningful change. Speaking of transparency, where is the promised email from last month's public comment that was left out in the agenda? Taxpayers have a right to see and hear all public comments accurately. When the board selectively shares, or administration for that matter, what it wants, it undermines the trust and silences the very people you are meant to represent. It's time for leadership that listens to teachers. I have heard otherwise from the previous speaker, but those in the front lines who understand the challenges of our students face. Teachers have raised concerns about outdated curricula and insufficient resources, yet rather than receiving the support they need, they're met with silence or excuses. Meanwhile, families are paying for private tutors because the basic educational support that should be provided is simply not there. Our students today are different than many of your grandchildren or children who have long since graduated. Their needs are different than they were years ago. We can no longer rely on outdated systems that no longer meet the challenges of today's classrooms. The time for change is now. We need leaders who listen to teachers, act with urgency, and prioritize our students' needs above all else. To those who continue to focus on personal agendas and photo ops on social media, the time for patience has passed. It's time to put students first. April 1st is approaching, and for those that are aware, it may come with an opportunity for real change. I encourage my fellow neighbors and community members to realize the crucial need for leaders who will fight for our kids. Leaders who will listen, act, and make sure that our students' needs always come first, not a selfie or a social media post of their lunch date with a local politician. Our kids deserve better, and together we must give them the education and experiences that they all deserve.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any written communications? We do not. Okay, thank you.
Madam President, just for the record, I want to note that the email comment that was just referred to is attached to this month's minutes, which are in the consent agenda for approval.
Thank you for noting that. The next section on the agenda is the consent agenda. This month, we received 3 new Freedom of Information requests. We have conference and travel expenses for the board to approve for the attendance of 2 board members to the 2024 Joint Annual Conference, 4 board members to the EdRed Annual Legislative Dinner on January 27th, and 5 board members to ISBE's North Cook Division meeting on March 4th for the total amount of $2,229.70. Phil, have you had the opportunity to look at the financials?
Yeah, in the 2 runs that I reviewed, I think there were maybe 3 or 4 questions that I had. All of them were responded to favorably. Didn't have any follow-ups.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone need anything pulled from the consent agenda?
Last month's minutes and the closed session minutes of January 16th.
Okay, thank you. May I please get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented minus items A and B?
So moved.
Stacy?
Yes.
Phil?
Aye.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I please get a motion to approve items A and B of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Phil?
Aye.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have now reached the new business section of the agenda. We are going to move a couple of items around. We are moving item F up to the top. And that is the approval of an employment agreement for the principal of Booth Tarkington Elementary School. Dr. Connolly.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have as the hour is getting late, we have an audience that we know would like to be able to, get home and be ready for tomorrow. It is, yes, absolutely. So I am very excited to recommend Jillian Dorn as the next principal of Tarkington Elementary School. Jillian has been the assistant principal at Tarkington for 4 years. Prior to that, she was the assistant to the principal at Field and has also has a long teaching history in the district, including at Tarkington. We had a good process, search process that included external candidates and internal candidates. And in the end, Jillian distinguished herself as the right next leader for Tarkington. And so it is with that that I make that recommendation.
Thank you. May I please get a motion to approve the proposed resolution?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Harlan?
Aye.
Stacy?
Yes.
Phil?
Aye.
I vote no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Dorn.
So I'm extremely grateful and honored for this opportunity to move forward as the next principal of Tarkington. The past 4 years have been extremely valuable and useful. I look forward to continuing to build my relationships that I have with the students there, the families there, the community, and each of you as our stakeholders as well. I'm committed to building and fostering a positive culture, welcoming, inclusive environment for all students so that they feel supported and empowered. I look forward to continuing to cultivate that positive culture, prioritizing the needs of the whole student and building those community relationships. I thank you for your trust and your support in this next chapter. So thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, and the next item of consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing the acquisition by eminent domain of a plus or minus 5-acre parcel of real property located at 2814 East Hints Road in Wheeling. Dr. Conlon.
So as the board knows, we have been in discussions to acquire this piece of property for our proposed early learning center. At this point, we are putting forth the recommendation for this authorization to potentially move forward with an eminent domain proceeding insofar as we have not been able to engage in the kind of negotiation that we feel has been productive. And we do believe that this is a step that will allow us to hopefully kickstart those meaningful negotiations. Obviously, this is not something that we would rather be able to kind of complete this in a standard negotiation where we come to a equitable agreement. But we do feel that we need to have this authorization to move forward with an eminent domain proceeding should those efforts fail and/or continue to be prolonged, which is an experience that we've been having thus far. So, Michael, if you needed to add anything to that.
No, just that obviously we do not want to have to use this, but at this point, in order to move the project along, we feel like it's the next step to get us to the point that we will acquire all the properties.
Okay. Board members, do we have any questions?
Well,
Any questions? I mean,
I don't have any questions. I'll just make a statement. I'm going to vote no tonight on this, not because it's a bad project, not because I don't agree with it, not because it's something we can afford, but because I just think the optics of giving them one final warning and saying either finish negotiating with us or we will take these steps is what I would prefer. And so I'll be voting no tonight, not because I don't like the project, not because I don't like the job that the staff has done, but because I think there may be a better way to telescope our message to them. And so the community knows that we're open, we're being honest with them, and we're giving them every opportunity to negotiate a final deal.
Thank you.
If I may just quickly respond to that, this is a warning. We are not going to court tomorrow morning. This is hopefully an encouragement to reach that equitable deal. It is an encouragement to move forward for both parties to complete this project and to properly incentivize and reward those property owners. With any fortune at all, they will come to the table and no legal proceeding will ever begin. If we do not at least authorize the possibility now, we are simply delaying the project until the next time we have this debate and the next time somebody says, you know, I don't like the optics. Nobody here wants to go to eminent domain. Not for the optics, not for the cost, not for any other reason. But it is necessary to move the process forward if we are going to complete the project, if we're going to do things like remove the modular classrooms that we've promised to remove, and to do so in a timely manner. So I will be supporting this resolution.
Thank you. Bill?
Sure. I'll officially move the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Understanding that for the last couple months, we've handled all three parcels in the same manner. Offers went out, we negotiated two of the three. I see no reason why we don't move this forward. At this point, the third party certainly has every opportunity to respond and continue the negotiations in good faith. We hope they do, certainly. I mean, we are all in favor of an early childhood center, as I recall from our prior conversations. And, you know, in support of that and in betterment and benefit for the children of the district, I say, let's make the approval tonight.
I will make a second, but I will make a comment really first, which is I will also be voting no for the reason that Dagmar is not here this evening. I would have much preferred to have a full board and a little more of a discussion, and that those of us that are voting no really just wanted one additional month to table it in order to have everybody here for a conversation. And so as everybody knows, I fully support the project and the Early Childhood Center. I do not support eminent domain in almost any form, but I don't support it in this form. But again, it has nothing to do with how much I believe in it. And I do think that there was a compromise to be had, and unfortunately, you know, we are where we are. But I think that one way or another, hopefully, this propels this for what I do believe should be a non-court resolution to the project in which we come to a fair and equitable agreement for everybody. And I second it. Second the motion.
Well, everyone else has made a comment, so I might as well too, right? No, I mean, I am in support of the resolution, and I will be voting accordingly. I think in many regards, eminent domain gets a bad rap, and I'm a lawyer, so I can say stuff like that. You know, this property has been for sale for 6 years. We've been in good faith negotiations on our side for 2 months now. This is simply the appropriate legal remedy for this stage of the negotiation. Nothing is being done that's unfair. Nothing is being done that's in bad faith. We're not moving forward in any regard that is, bad optics, which I know we like to throw around that phrase a lot. This is simply the appropriate legal remedy for this stage of the negotiation.
Okay. Thank you much. Okay, we've got a motion and a second, so may I please get a roll call vote?
I'll vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
No?
Stacy?
No.
Phil?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the approval of publication for a notice of a permanent budget transfer.
So as the board knows, we've had a process of making budget transfers to support our capital projects over the past several years. And so this is just a continuation of that process and posting public notice about the permanent transfer that we'll be making. And so unless there are any questions, there's no specific presentation attached to it.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy? Phil?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the approval of transfer from internal service fund to the education fund in the amount of $2,750,000.
So separately from the approval of the publication of notice of transfer that you just did, there will be this is a different transfer. Again, unless there's any specific questions, there's no specific presentation attached to it.
This is something that we've been speaking about within the Finance Committee. We've planned for this type of transfer. It's within our ability to do, and we should do it, and I'll move the question.
Second.
Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy? Phil?
Aye.
I vote yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And the following item is the approval of the 2025 summer construction bids.
Again, Michael alluded to the summer construction work in his report. This is just approving the bids that came in very favorably. I think they came in $2.75 million under what was projected by our construction managers, which is awesome. Again, testament to the work that Nicholas and Associates and Michael and his team and, taking really good advantage of a bid market. So it allows us to do everything we wanted to do, so.
So moved.
Second.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy? Phil?
Aye.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and the next item is the approval of the construction manager fee structure for the 2025 summer construction projects.
So recognizing the work that Nicholas has done is actually being able to pay them for the work that they will be doing this summer.
The only question I have, Michael, is the 13% or approximately 13% management fee similar to what has been done in the past, the charges that they've had in past years?
So it's not a 13% fee. There's a 4.5% fee in total for the services. Then there are fixed costs, which are, I just want to make sure that everybody doesn't think we're paying 13%. The fixed costs are for the salaries of the site superintendents, the project manager, fixed costs that go along with them obtaining insurance, although they rebate that back to us in our allowance because the bond premiums that the contractors are required to apply come to us then as part of our allowance. So it actually, this year's allowance is over $1 million for the summer construction. And then there are fees that are not fixed. There are reimbursable costs within this number that total several $100,000, of which we hardly ever spend even half of that because of the fact that we don't pay that much for trash removal. We don't pay that much for some of the signs that come out. So while it looks like 13%, we've never paid that much. And they actually dropped their fee by a full % this year, as did Archon dropped theirs by 0.5% based upon the loyalty that the districts had to them and the number of dollars we've done in work over the last few years. So our total costs in on the construction will actually be about 1.5% less than they would have been last year.
Thank you. So moved.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy? Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes. Debbie?
Yes,
Bill?
Aye.
motion passes. Okay, and that's it here. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for Thursday, March 20th, 2025, same place. And may I please get a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Second.
Yes.
Debbie? You're right. You even wait for me. Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy? Arlen?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming.